junglers, although Echo Fox could absolutely force Cloud9 to ban 2 junglers, because since Cloud9's jumped on the jungle bandwagon first, as far as banning, they'd be giving up a first pick Kindred if they do not ban it again themselves.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it's going to be the Echo follow-up, removing that from Cloud9. Don't want to first pick it themselves. Lucian is still available, and though Keith had 1 win on it and 1 loss with it, Fury's still out to see how he's going to go with that. Vladimir and Swain still available. I believe Swain was banned in both of the previous games.
Yeah, Cloud9's been banning it, but here it's either Kindred or Swain. Depending on what Echo Fox decides to do, they just get rid of the Bard, which I think is quite smart. Bunny was in the zone. Got to get him off that. So Kindred or Swain will fall through for the first time this series.
We'll see if Hard is going to be able to take one of those champions. If they decide to go for the first pick priority, surely Cloud9 talking about the 2 themselves, and Echo Fox already prepared with their own set of first picks. But it is going to be Kindred banned away from Hard.
Well, the time is now. If they want to lock in Swain, they'd still be giving up probably Rek'Sai and Lucian on the backside. They've also banned out the Echo this time. So I feel like Impact will just play Maokai for a 3rd consecutive game.
Shown that he's pretty comfortable on it.
There are so many champions up right now, though, that even if Echo Fox takes 1, like, the things that Cloud9 would want to take would be like Rek'Sai, Lucian, and Maokai, if Echo Fox first picked the Swain. So something like a Swain Maokai would be super great for Echo Fox, but then they'd have to hope that Cloud9 doesn't pick him on the backside. Interesting.
Yeah.
They end up going with Lucian.
Going back to the Lucian, we just talked about Keith having a lot of deaths on that champion, very mechanically intensive. We'll see if he can pull it together this time. Currently, Swain now being looked at by Cloud9, but as you mentioned, the Echo is banned. That Maokai is still wide open. A lot of priority picks.
Yeah, Meteos is really like the Rek'Sai, and we've seen that Cloud9's priority is in the side of the Rek'Sai, so that's the most likely choice here. It's just if you think about the chance of going with Swain and Maokai together is just super tanky solo laners. I mean, I guess it's kind of similar to the Maokai and the Vladimir, which didn't work for Cloud9 in Game 1, which is why they might be hesitant to go back to it. There's just a lot of choice for Cloud9 here and a lot of power picks that are still up.
Currently back to hovering the Maokai, and he is going to lock it in. So Maokai and Rek'Sai, once again, building that very tanky tag team so that whenever Cloud9 get in fights, whenever they get in skirmishes, Meteos and Impact can wreak havoc while Jensen and Sneaky clean up in the back.
Yeah, and Keith has not been farmed enough in his games to really be able to shred through the tank lines. Even though the culling is just this insane skill with Black Cleaver and Ghostblade, it looked like, because how far Keith was behind in that game, like when he was using it, he was doing very little. Especially when you consider he's going to be having to cut through Maokai and Rek'Sai now.
We'll see how Keith is going to do this time around. Karma's still open, so we'll see if they decide to secure that 4 big, or if it gets passed over to Cloud9, who still have their own pick of the support, Echo Fox. Now they're going to be the ones who hover the Swain.
Yep.
And in fact, it is going to be locked in Gragas Swain.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we expected. There were the 4 picks that were going to have priority between both teams, and there was going to be 2 that go over to both sides based on the bans. Echo Fox decided Lucian was the most important of the 4. Obviously, Cloud9 decided Swain was the least important of the 4 for them because they're naturally on red side, so they can counterpick their mid lane. I guess they're just going to wait on their Swain counterpick and also wait to see if they can be sure that it's going in the mid lane so they actually get the counterpick, which is why they probably go with Rek'Sai and Maokai.
Yeah. We'll see if Cloud9 decide to go for that AD carry and support right now. Save that counterpick for Jensen. As they're looking 15 seconds on the clock, everyone is getting ready. And looks like Braum currently being hovered along with Ashe once again. So the Freljordian duo lane is going to be locked in.
Yeah, tons of CC once again for Cloud9, trying to get a little bit of that recipe from Game 2, where they're just able to initiate off of Ashe arrows and just chain CC again and again to make them inescapable for Echo Fox. It's going to make Keith's positioning punishable. Now we get to see the support and probably the top laner for Echo Fox.
Yeah, we're going to be looking to see how Echo Fox, if they send Froggen back into the mid lane, or if they flex it up once again.
Yeah, I mean,
seems unlikely.
We've seen Swain top lane.
Yeah.
He likes to play Swain more. Luckily, we have a little bit of data to pull from. Echo Fox played Swain game 1 against Phoenix 1 yesterday. He was very successful. And the Fiora has been a knockout pick for Echo Fox. So this makes the most sense. Swain can get quite tanky, and they're going to be looking for split push pressure from the Fiora as long as they lock these in, which they do.
Yes, Fiora and Karma now locked in for Echo Fox. KFO, he's bringing it back. Very strong champion. And Big returning back to that Karma. That enables him quite a bit. This is the counter pick now for Jensen, seeing that he'll have to play against a Swain in the mid lane. Froggen Swain. Victor is still up. Huge impact in game number 2.
Vladimir is still up that he played in game 1. But like I said, if I was Reapered, I feel like the Victor is just a super solid pick right here. And those are the two we're talking about, Victor and Vladimir. It's probably what he's choosing between.
The decision for Jensen. So far, he's shown Azir, Fizz, and Lissandra, in addition to that Victor and Vladimir. So 5 champions in 5 games. This will be his first repeat of the split. And it is locked in. So Victor in the mid lane for Jensen. Try bringing low Froggen Swain.
Yeah, and it's just a really powerful looking team composition from Cloud9 as far as their ability to find team fights and then execute on team fights. And that's the strengths that Cloud9 should be trying to build towards. They're good in laning, just in their general play. They're all very good mechanical players, but their teamwork hasn't necessarily came together yet. So just like group up, put it all on Sneaky or Impact's teleport, go in on a big fight, and then everyone knows how to execute once you're in there. And you look at Echo Fox's team composition, still a lot of strong champions, not nearly as many team fight synergies.
Yeah.
So for Echo Fox to win, they have to kind of split up and play the map against Cloud9, who's going to be looking to wrangle them and crush them in team fights.
Which is exactly what worked for them in game number 1. Despite the advantage Cloud9 had, Echo Fox were just able to stall it out long enough and deny that team fight to Cloud9.
Yeah, that game they had Zyron a little bit more disengaged, but with the Gragas jungle, still decent disengage. So maybe a similar style game to game 1. It's just this time, Cloud9's changed up the way they're going to initiate. Echo Fox has changed up the way they're going to play their style as well.
Well, it's down to 1 game right now. Who will take this series? Tweet hashtag FOXWin or hashtag C9Win and tell the world what you think. And we'll see what you guys think as we get into this, our final game of the day between Echo Fox and Cloud9. It's game 3, and we are loading onto the Rift right now.
Yeah, best of 3s. Our first week about to wrap up here in North America. Potentially with just a bunch of teams winning both of them and a bunch of teams losing both of them. We will see if that's the case here, since Cloud9 and Echo Fox. Basically, if Cloud9 wins this, they would place into 5th place on the standings. Echo Fox win, they would be tied for 1st or tied for 5th, depending on how you want to look at it, because of all the other teams sitting at 2-0.
So every other team in the league right now is either 2-0 or 0-2, and Echo Fox currently does have a win. So we'll see how that bracket plays out. And defensive lines from everyone. Nobody's going to face check any bushes this time around. They're experienced enough after first couple of games of the weekend.
I mean, Keith and Big have been taking some really unfortunate or poor paths at level 1 that have immediately disadvantaged them in the lane. This specific game, when they are against a Braum, maybe we end up just seeing a lane swap from Cloud9, because the Lucian Karma would be something to look to bully early.
Yeah, they are currently sending their duo towards the top side of the map. Bunny Fufu and Sneaky heading on up. As hard, waiting in the mid lane, trying to find out, where do I need to go? Am I going to head towards my blue buff? Am I going to start at the Raptor camp?
Yeah. So, I mean, no scouting done by these teams whatsoever. Going to end up seeing pretty mirrored starts nonetheless. The big difference, though, is that Impact helped out with the leash for Meteos, whereas KFO is kind of hoping that he sees a Maokai pop soon, or that people are doing a duo lane. Like, if you're KFO right here, you gotta balance it between trying to get as much farm as possible before running away and not getting killed. So he gets 3 CS, he sees Sneaky, and he's got to immediately run. So actually really well done by KFO to at least get some experience, but now he knows he can't lane, and he's got to run away.
Yeah, trying to catch up with his jungler, perhaps trying to get some solo experience on his own. He's going to be spotted out by Bunny Fufu as Big invades and finds Impact, who's heading over to catch up with his own jungler. So just a bit of harass.
Got to get that Spell Thief's gold.
Yeah.
It's not going to be meaningful harass onto Impact at all.
Big Laser will find Froggen, so we'll be able to heal that up with his Corrupting Potion. As Jensen and Froggen finally get to meet once again in the mid lane. Might see if anything else happens. Lane swap now looks to take down those tier 1 turrets. The mini waves are nice and big.
Yeah. Nothing is too different between the way these teams are jungling right now. Outside of Meteos has been clearing a little bit faster than Hard because he got a little bit of help early from Impact. You can see him already starting on blue buff, whereas Hard is pathing towards it right now. Also a little bit low on health, so obviously Meteos is clear on Rek'Sai. Pretty incredible, out of the fact that he got a pull. But ultimately, I don't think any of that will matter. They're just going to be trading these turrets.
And that sort of has been a theme throughout this entire series, is Meteos just inches ahead of Hard. A little bit faster ganks, a little bit more CS, just a bit more health.
Yeah, well, in fact, in game 1, Meteos was level 6 when Hard was still level 4.
Yeah.
So that was from a little bit of a fumble early on in the game, and Meteos is definitely going to have a chance to get an experience edge right here because Infernal Drake is up right now. Equifox decides to go for it really early on in the game as a 3-man. That's going to delay their recalls, it's going to delay the experience. It'll be important for a later game buff.
Oh! Whoa. KFO secures the tier 1, and Big, oh my gosh! Yeah, trying to juggle the aggro there.
Not even close.
His threat meter didn't update in time.
Yeah, he was fine the whole time. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Calculated.
Very
that way it keeps his jungler healthier, so that when he recalls, he can get back out onto the map faster.
Yeah. Getting that early Infernal Drake, I think, is actually very important. It's always dangerous to lane swap when you concede that the first Drake now, because I feel like they're more powerful than they would have been last year. Even just the first Drake, especially if it's an Infernal, is just like unanimously better. Dragon 1 last year was 6% attack damage and ability power. Infernal Drake is 8% attack damage and ability power, as well as how well it can augment you at the end of the game from the Elder Dragon. So I like the choice from Equifox to give a small tempo disadvantage in order to take the early Infernal, as long as they don't get steamrolled right after that.
Yeah. This sort of harkens back to how they played in their first game against Phoenix 1, where they prioritized dragons over the course of the entire series. And in that game, they ended up, I believe it was 4 Drakes, then a Baron, then the Elder, and then they just won.
Yeah, and that was a game where they got 3 Infernal Drakes in 1 mountain, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what, that's a pretty sweet combo if you can get that type.
And the next Drake 2 spawn is going to be a Mountain Drake, so Cloud9 have got to be conscious that that is a strategy. And the tier 1 shove begins anew on opposite sides of the map. Cloud9 looking for the bottom tier 1, and Equifox for the top. Should be able to get it at about the same time. Yeah, Cloud9's just going to be a bit faster.
Yeah, but when this resets, there will be a big map pressure difference between the teams. Basically, Meteos took the time where Equifox was doing the Drake to farm up a little bit more and rush an early Sightstone. And then you also added the fact that because they had a tempo advantage, he has time to go ward up the entire jungle of Equifox. So Equifox putting a really big focus on objectives, which are, especially in the case of Rift Herald and Infernal Dragon, deferred power, because the stats will stay with him the whole game. The Rift Herald buff will last 20 minutes. Whereas Cloud9 is going for immediate power. Their tempo is faster, they have more CS, they have more immediate gold, and more immediate vision. Basically, if Equifox is able to not get steamrolled here, I think it gives them an edge, but Cloud9 is immediately, like right now, a bit ahead.
Yeah. Investing towards the future. Flash for the
by
snare.
Froggen.
Bunny Fufu's going to be caught. There's the never move, but he makes it out. The save from Sneaky. It's a lot of flashes burned on top of that heal. Bunny Fufu's low. Keith can't catch up. He's trying to get it. The snare will not find Sneaky, and Cloud9 get out.
Oh my goodness. Personal frustration of mine if you're playing Swain against a Braum, none of your spells work. Froggen tried to throw out his Q into Braum shield because as his laser bird is being thrown out, it counts as a projectile. It hit the shield and disappeared, so it did no damage. Then he throws his E in, that's another projectile, blocked. Even if he was level 6, he would have used his ult. None of those birds would have hit. So like, Swain actually can't do much against Braum, and he threw everything into the Braum shield right there, so his roam was actually completely ineffectual. He loses time in the mid lane, and everyone on Cloud9 gets out alive.
Yeah, loses some CS as well. Tries to all in onto Jensen, gets some good damage and heals himself back up with a catalyst. But Jensen was getting ready to recall regardless, sitting on about 850 gold, so he'll be fine in this lane as he continues to heal it up. 8 minutes in, Cloud9 now up to about a 1,500 gold advantage. KFO with that glimpse of the void hasn't had a lot of time alone as Cloud9 control the side waves for the time being.
Yeah, so a lot of deferred power here for Echo Fox, but like the immediate strength of Cloud9 is really, really strong. He actually, no flash right here. I think KFO is dead.
Yeah, KFO is currently level 3. Oh my goodness, he's gonna be slaughtered. Meteos gets first blood.
Deep in enemy territory, but because they're controlling the tempo so much, look at all the deep wards they've been able to get, and KFO, I believe, flashed aggressively in that gank attempt. Cloud9 knew it was down. Meteos and Bunny just group up and go and take a nice kill. Plus, they know exactly when the blue buff is going to be spawning, and they can take that too. Yeah,
getting the blue buff on timer for Jensen is going to help him out even more. It's in fact traded as Froggen's on the other side. Getting the blue buff of Cloud9 hard is going to be helping him out. And should be able to secure that just fine, as it looks like Echo Fox might try to look for a cheeky tier 2. That blue buff is still alive!
Yeah, and they lost vision of it because Hard stepped out of the brush. So a little bit of a delay, and man, Echo Fox continuing to try and trade, but they're losing a lot of gold. Everyone on Cloud9 has been farming better as Echo Fox has either overchased a few kills or spent a long amount of time on objectives, and Cloud9 is really going to try and get a snowball going here based on this early lead.
Yeah, Echo Fox, we're looking for the tier 2 on the bottom side. Here comes a teleport from KFO, still level 4, but Cloud9 are already on the other side. They're going to try diving Impact. KFO has no flash, but currently Keith has aggro. He's snared under the turret and knocked back in. Oh, almost goes down. And Impact is able to turn it around with some help from Jensen. Meteos finds Froggen, and Jensen, meanwhile, did get that kill onto KFO. Big gets caught on top of it. Jensen is 2-0.
What an early game so far from Cloud9. Impact knew exactly what he was doing. Look at his items right now. He's an incredibly tanky level 6 Maokai. You can't dive that with a bunch of level 4 champions. Echo Fox tries anyway. They're not able to kill it. They give up the turret on the other side. They give more kills back to Cloud9. And the risk for Echo Fox when they went for all these objectives is that Cloud9 was going to be immediately stronger than them, and they needed to stall. Yet they're trying to make aggressive moves from a disadvantaged position, and it's backfiring terribly. Look at this, level 4 across the board except for Keith and Hard, who are level 6, but Keith can't keep DPS because he gets turret aggro. Hard runs out of mana, and then Cloud9 has the easy collapse.
Yeah, 3 versus 4, they're able to find success.
Just the edge of that knockup.
I guess that explains why he's focusing that champion so much. Such excellent knowledge of the knockup and the mobility that it provides for his team. Meteos playing very well for Cloud9. On the far side of the map, though, you saw Sneaky and Bunny Fufu did take the tier 2 in addition to that, so already opening up some map control. The strongest early game from Cloud9 we've seen in this series so far.
Yeah, and probably the strongest early game we've seen from them in any of their 6 games they've played this week, including the 3 they played against Immortals. Some of this has been Echo Fox making choices that give Cloud9 a bit more of an advantage, but another thing has just been Cloud9 playing it extremely well. They're winning the mid lane, they're keeping farm up on everyone, and especially Meteos this game has been pathing extremely well, the early sidestone prioritization, and he has been the one punishing Echo Fox the most.
Yeah, this is a large minion wave that Cloud9 escort into the turret to prevent any chance of a freeze, but with all that pressure, that leaves mid undefended. Bunny Fufu takes the bold way in. Another move will lock down Jensen, but should be able to find some pressure. KFO actually is going to drop the grand challenge. He's down a level, but he's still doing some good damage. Healing up, able to proc all 4 vitals, goes for a 5th on top of it. Impact may have bitten off more than he can chew. The minions are doing enough work, and KFO solo kills Impact.
Yeah, he thought with his Sunfire cape, seeing as KFO hadn't completed any items, Impact thought the Sunfire Cape was going to be enough to tank against Fiora, but percent health true damage, bro, is just not enough when you have a Sunfire Cape. And specifically the fact that KFO was able to get all of his healing spring after proccing all 4 vitals. Impact was unable to hide like enough in the wall to prevent it, and KFO just won the duel because Impact had no flash.
Fufu dashes onto the never move, but the arrow from Sneaky forces flash out of Frog, and meanwhile Dragon was picked up for Cloud9. That was the Mountain Drake. Trading it back.
Luckily, Impact's going to be able to get the whole wave after as well, so the giving up the kill sucks, but at least he doesn't lose the wave.
Yeah.
And still a meaningful Dragon for Cloud9 to pick up. They slowly but surely capitalized on their 2 Mountain Drakes last game. Maybe they can do it again since they have a bigger edge in the early game on this one.
Yeah, so we're starting to transition out of the early game just a bit. We're seeing some big items completed out of Cloud9. Echo Fox just a little bit further behind in terms of overall gold. And really, next 10 minutes are where we saw Cloud9 sort of have some trouble in this series. They've had pretty consistent advantages in the early game, but real difficulty converting them in the mid-game.
Yeah, it's where they're going to need to show the most decisiveness, and maybe even throughout the mid-game, right? Like, you can discuss, hey guys, why did it take us so long to close that one out? We had such a big lead, and then we just kept making these mistakes. Maybe they can figure out a way to get that going. Early Rylai's Scepter, Crystal Scepter from Jensen, you know, really big leads across the board for Cloud9 this game. If there is a game to kind of prove early on, at least for this series, that they don't need high and, you know, go towards the new world where they can kind of shot call for themselves, this would be a game to show it.
Yeah, the brave new world for Cloud9. Echo Fox currently looking for some deep vision. Might try to collapse onto Impact. His flash is back up. Impact takes the bait onto KFO. Just trading it out, but right now, Hard and they're just waiting in the bush.
Yeah, they're hoping to probably catch Meteos, because if they don't move, Meteos won't be able to see them.
Oh, and he doesn't fall for it. Very patient.
Yeah, because it's still really hard to dive Maokai, as they saw earlier in the game.
Yeah.
And Cloud9's like, you know what? Some people have been missing for a really long time. I wonder where they are. They still technically don't know.
Ward over the wall along with the sapling will eventually spot them. Even Bunny Fufu.
There's a lot of time being used.
Yeah.
Right there. Oh my, is he?
Oh.
And then
He
he just
gets
wards
the
it.
ward over the wall.
He was
Back to the
so
right.
suspicious. He's like, there's no way
Yeah.
they're like jungling or something right now.
Can't be on the far side of red buff.
Great play by Meteos. Maybe they saw him going in and a ward died somewhere else, but like, I don't think so. That was just a great scout out by Meteos. Wastes a whole bunch of time for Echo
Yeah.
Fox.
It was a clever play, but not quite able to make anything happen. Impact gets knocked back as Hard commits to the gank. An instant flash gets him out.
Yeah, push him back a little bit, but also burn the Grand Challenge out. Meteos immediately goes to the other side of the jungle to try and counter.
Bunny Fufu will find Froggen. Never move goes wide as Meteos steals away the Raptor camp once again.
Never move goes really wide.
Yeah.
KFO, though, trying to use that Rift Herald buff as well as Fiore.
It's a lot of damage. Impact very low, but he's buying time for Sneaky and Bunny Fufu on the far side of the map. They're chunking down another tier 2 turret to half health.
Yeah, I mean, this gold lead is not to be understated. 4,000 is a lot of gold at this stage in the game.
Yeah, we're getting towards that mid-game now. Cloud9 being a little bit more aggressive on this bottom side, escorting Sneaky to the tier 2. He's got his arrow along with double summoners, so see if anything exciting will happen. Another dragon is slated for the next 2 minutes. That's going to be another Mountain Drake. Cloud9 very much want that. Again, stacking these Mountain Drakes means you can take those big neutral objectives so much faster.
Yeah, and it also is going to be important in this game that they can do that against the split push, because KFO, like, this game is going to be a problem for Cloud9 to deal with. Echo Fox was able to prioritize him the Rift Herald buff. He's already got his Hydra, and the later in the game it gets, the more scary it becomes for Maokai to try and deal with that. But he can hold off for a little while, and you only need a little while to take a Baron if you get multiple Mountain Drakes. So that's why it's so important for Cloud9 to keep securing these things as they move towards a late game where KFO could be really dangerous.
Again, he does have that glimpse of the Void buff from Rift Herald. It will wear off at about the 26, 27-minute mark.
Because they got it so early this game.
The early objective focus from Echo Fox, transitioning well into the mid-game, buying them some time to try to deny Cloud9 their advantage. But now, once again, 4 members of Cloud9 grouped up, make that 5. As Impact comes on from the top, and they knock down the mid-tier 1 turret. Echo Fox unable to clear the wave quick enough.
Yeah, well, the danger is the fact that their early objective focus doesn't transition well into the mid game because Cloud9 has been punishing them so heavily with advantages in almost every role, except for the top lane of KFO right now. So with the Dragon coming up, it doesn't even really seem like Echo Fox should think about contesting it. Mainly, they're just going to continue to hope the KFO can get work done, and Cloud9 is doing their best to ignore the problem.
Froggen trying to be very sneaky and hunt down that Cloud9 AD carry. He's not on an assassin, but oh, he should have seen those arrows hit. Yep. Froggen's waiting in the back of the brush. Even Bunny Fufu coming to assist him, and Froggen, yeah, once he sees the support, knows it's no longer safe. So that Dragon has just spawned. Cloud9 are in prime position. They're looking to secure it. That's going to be Mountain Drake number 2 for Cloud9 with no contest from Echo Fox. Hard is in the area, but he doesn't even want to try. It's just too dangerous with the crowd control Cloud9 has.
Yeah, not worth it whatsoever to try and go for that one. Gold lead still 5,000 as well as having the 2 Mountain Drakes, so really solid for Cloud9 here. Even a call for Sneaky because he's had such an easy time farming up. Hasn't had to lane against Lucian at all and has a 2-level advantage on Keith.
Yeah, some pretty big advantages for Cloud9. Now, Hard actually did have a level advantage. He just now, Meteos just now got level 10, so Hard has been keeping pace. Only 10 CS down right now. Jensen with a very satisfying gravity field. The stall out time for that Death Ray. As he continues to farm up in the mid lane, 50 CS ahead of Froggen right now, on top of the level advantage.
Yeah, notice that Jensen, because Jensen has killed the other mid lane turret, he was actually really clever right there to not have his minions immediately push past because he doesn't actually have great deep warding right now, and he didn't want his wave to naturally start pushing towards the Echo Fox secondary turret. So really just making sure he's keeping control of all the CS possible. Now over a 50 CS advantage against Froggen.
Cloud9 once again seems to have resorted to a slower mid-game despite their early advantage. As we're just cresting the rise on that 20-minute mark. And Cloud9 just taking their time with the game once again. So it seems like they haven't quite adapted as quickly as we'd like to see, but they've still got an advantage. And again, this is looking very similar to game number 2.
Yeah, the 5,000 gold lead is definitely more substantial than it was in game number 2. And KFO is also on a much more potent split push champion. You remember, he was kind of mid lane on Vladimir last game. So here,
much more.
The only hope I think Echo Fox has is that KFO gets going or that they get to like hyper late game. But with the scaling that Jensen and Sneaky would have, it's going to be difficult. So Echo Fox is just hoping to get some type of pick to stop this farming machine that is Jensen in the mid lane. Yeah. So satisfying to farm on Victor, and they just don't have a window to gank.
Yeah. Meteos was waiting on the side as well. Echo Fox once again disappear from the map, and Cloud9 play it safe. The moment they don't have any vision of the enemy team, they back off. Allow Echo Fox to waste that time before trying to look for anything else. Once again, KFO trading with Impact. Ooh, doesn't quite get the vital.
You can always heal back up with that Ravenous Hydra though, and like you can really see the way Cloud9 is playing. They're accepting the fact the KFO is going to be bullying Impact, and they're not going to be able to deny the Fiora farm whatsoever, but instead they're trying to take the other 4 members of their team and just play hugely around their advantage. And I love what they're doing right now. They've already gone in for deep wards. They should be going straight for this Baron, knowing they have double Mountain Drakes. The type of decisiveness that was missing last game is showing up right here as they rush the Baron.
Yeah, down to 6,000 health as it's being burned through. Vision now from Echo Fox. It's already
And the
too
teleport
late. Will
from
they be
Malkai.
able
This
to
is
make
great.
it in time? Hard is there, drops the cast early. Arrow threads the needle onto Fox. Meteos is able to lock him down. Bunny Fufu is doing some big damage along with Sneaky as Cloud9 pick off the wounded members of Echo Fox. Impact flashes, he gets the snare. It's 2 members of Echo Fox dead.
Yeah, so KFO decided to continue pushing the wave, and Cloud9 was able to use the double Mountain Drake to create a sense of urgency, but when Impact teleported in to create the fight, and Cloud9 peeled, yes, they did get the 2 kills, but it's still going to be another trade-off. The 4 people on their team are still even stronger, but KFO is stronger yet, and he actually gets the turret.
Yeah, that glimpse of the Void buff so strong, able to break
Now
down
he's dead.
2 turrets. And
Super dead.
Meteos finally going to catch up. 3 members of Cloud9 versus 1 of Echo Fox. And Meteos is going to secure the kill. Meanwhile, Jensen has been left alone in the mid lane. Teleport from Froggen to try to lock him down. Doesn't have a Rylai's, but plenty sticky enough on that Swain. Nevermove will buy some time, and Echo Fox have found a kill in answer. Bunny Fufu's a little bit too late, but Cloud9 again collapsed. Flash from Meteos. He's denied by Hard as Sneaky is in the back trying to shred through. He's snared down on his own, but Echo Fox can't get in. They're solo. The arrow misses, and Echo Fox get out.
Wow, that could have been so disastrous for Echo Fox, but because they were able to kill Jensen and then not suffer any additional casualties, that gold lead's still just sitting at 4,000 and the turrets are even. So, like,
Yeah.
they are kind of still staying in this game. Trying to figure out what exactly happened with Jensen. He's been in that wave clear pattern. He sticks around for that one last hit. Teleport comes in. Yeah, and it's a body slam flash from Hard. Actually doesn't get the barrel to slow. And then the slow from Jensen's Q is nearly enough to keep Hard away, but his body slam comes back up cooldown. They can chain that with the never move, and they finish him off easily. And Keith actually ends up using his Q on the red buff, which delays the kill a little bit and is suboptimal. But luckily, Froggen has just enough mana to stay in bird form and get people pretty low. Then this Ash Arrow, if it was just a little bit farther to the side, could have actually been 2, maybe 3 kills, because when it stuns,
The
it
explosion.
has an AoE slow as well attached to it. So, and the explosion, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like, that was really close to being total disaster for Fox, but they get away and they're only 4,000 gold down.
Yeah, very small AoE radius on that arrow, but with Echo Fox so grouped up, it would have been great. Now that dragon is spawning once again. Echo Fox are in the pick. That's going to be an Ocean Drake. And looks like Cloud9 are content to give up vision on that side of the map as they rush down the Baron, but that leaves KFO alone with the inhibitor of Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, unless they feel comfortable with Impact being able to go one-to-one with him, they can't put 4 people on the other side of the map to go for Baron. Even if they can kill it very quickly, like, it just takes that decisiveness. And Cloud9 had the decisiveness right at 20 minutes. I actually think they had time to finish Baron, no problem, and that would have been exactly what they should have done, but they missed that opportunity. Their time has been shortened because KFO took down an inhibitor turret, so now there's nowhere for Impact to actually run away if KFO gets in a duel situation with him, and now they're gonna just try and, you know, fight on the side where there's the explosion inhibitor. I don't necessarily think Echo Fox can fight them really well here, but they might have to try.
Echo Fox now looking to collapse onto Cloud9, drive a wedge in between that team comp. Nevermove will try to split away Jensen. KFO may have bitten off a bit more than he can chew as Jensen answers back. There goes the arrow from Sneaky as he's fighting on the far side, zoning away the rest of Echo Fox. Dragon goes down for Cloud9, and they're able to disengage.
Yeah, KFO and Froggen were trying to do something cute by taking off Jensen, but Jensen just goes full man mode. 280 CS at this stage on Victor. Totally destroys KFO and burns his flash. And now Echo Fox has actually lost split push position on the exposed inhibitor, at least in the short term. So Cloud9's again trying to get control around Baron.
Yeah, it's Froggen on that side of the map now. Doesn't quite have his teleport, but
Oh, there's a ward inside base that KFO might try and teleport to. But yeah, Echo Fox is not in position to stop this Baron or even scout it. They don't have any blue trinkets up, so finally, double Earth Dragon, do it.
yeah, this Baron is being shredded by Cloud9. Hard will spot it, and once again, Cloud9 might need to make up their mind on which they want to go for. Even teleport used from Impact to secure it. That's Baron buff for Cloud9. Arrow is going to hit Keith. Bunny Fufu's right there. The knockup stacks on top. He needs one auto attack and finds it. He goes down. It's 2 kills for Cloud9. It's 5v3 with the Baron buff.
Yeah, and that's the value of that Ashe pick for Cloud9. Keith just kind of meandering around when they didn't have vision around Baron. So the Ashe arrow comes through, he's caught in a tight corridor, gets bullseyed, so it's really long duration stun because of how long the arrow traveled in the air. And that's decent death time as Cloud9 now with Baron buff and double Earth Dragon probably take the inhibitor.
Yeah, they're shoving forward. Now, I feel like I've seen this play before in game number 1, but this time it's Cloud9 shoving forward. They're going to take the inhib. They decide to back off. They don't want to risk it too soon.
Yeah, still a tremendous series of events for Cloud9. Very smart of them to go down towards the Dragon area. When they realized they could burn KFO's flash and stop the split push in the top lane, they use that window of time to go immediately for the Baron, which they secure, and then they get an initiation and take an inhibitor. Like, everything in that last sequence of 4 minutes was pristine from Cloud9.
Yeah, the minions are stacking up on the bottom lane, so they will eventually crash into the inhib. But for the time being, Cloud9 are content to continue pushing down. The arrow, in fact, is fired
KFO
away.
is leaving, so Cloud9 can just take this inhibitor with 5 people.
Yeah, the inhibitor is going to be taken by Cloud9. KFO will answer back with an inhib of his own, and Cloud9, they do have the enhanced recall. Echo Fox have got to stop this. The flash
They want the win.
They could be looking for the win right now. Keith is destroyed again. This guy cannot catch a break.
Yeah, and they still have Baron and Power Minis, but at the same time, they gotta be careful actually because KFO is killing the Nexus turrets on the other side.
Yeah, KFO split pushing
no
hard.
one's been able to get back.
They're turning on the Frog, and he's trying to buy some time.
No.
KFO is on the second one.
Baron
Cloud9.
and powered recalls are real, so they can get back. They just need to take the time.
Yeah, Hard is able to
Jensen made
disrupt
it back.
one. Impact. Oh, he actually turns it around. Jensen is back. He's going to be able to get KFO off of this, and now Cloud9 are going to turn around. KFO is dead. That's an ace, and Cloud9 win their first series of the NALCS Summer Split.
Yeah, it gets a little bit dicey as you're always fearful that KFO can backdoor the Nexus, but I actually really like the shot calling by Cloud9 down the stretch there. The decisiveness of Impact to catch Keith right at the end was awesome, and it just allowed all the damage to go to Cloud9 to crush, but they sent the right person back to base, too. Jensen with a whole bunch of damage to burst down KFO as Sneaky and the rest of the squad could clinch the series.
Yeah, taking their first win. They bring it 1-1 and now tie themselves in the standings with Echo Fox after that win. That was the decisiveness we were looking for, that they have been lacking in game number 1 and game number 2. So on the fly, we're already seeing some improvements.
Exactly. Throughout a best of 3, what type of growth are we going to be seeing from the teams?